Upwards of 32,000 people reportedly crammed into Jerusalem Saturday night, demonstrating in Paris Square just a stone's throw away from the Prime Minister's Balfour residence. And once again, many were dressed in costumes, singing songs, and of course, rallying against alleged government corruption. This making for the largest demonstration yet in a series of ongoing protests. This latest rally sees a large group of new participants, though, more and more families with children, and now several groups of self-identifying right-wingers who say that they too have concluded that Benjamin Netanyahu is not for them.
Fighting for the future. We want a different future, a future that we can live equally together without hate. And I think this is the reason you don't hear just one voice here, so many voices, because we said enough.
Prime Minister Netanyahu, on the other hand, is fighting back, continuing to blast demonstrators for being organized by his political and media opponents. Netanyahu even sharing footage on social media, supposedly proving such affiliations. As for the outbreak of violence, in spite of increased police presence and some use of force to disperse the crowds, few serious clashes were reported. Far from the protest grounds, though, incitement against the demonstrators continues, the latest coming from an unfortunately familiar source. Yona Avrushmi, convicted of killing left-wing activist Emil Grutzweig and injuring 9 others by throwing a grenade into a crowd of protesters in 1983. In a recent TV interview, Avrushmi called the new protesters germs, while suggesting that counter-protesters, quote, know exactly what to do. Protesters then have filed a police complaint against him, citing incitement to murder, and opposition leaders in the Knesset likewise are calling for Avrushmi's immediate arrest. Avrushmi, who lives in Tel Aviv, served 27 years of a life sentence before being released in 2011. Now, in the meantime, while all these protests continue, the coalition may soon falter all on its own, the gulf between Netanyahu's Likud party and alternate Prime Minister Benny Gantz's blue and white growing bigger every day. Both sides are blaming the other for the latest stalemate over the national budget, and the weekly Sunday cabinet meeting is now the latest casualty of their squabbling, canceled over failure to even agree on an agenda. But less than just 3 weeks remain ahead of the deadline to pass a budget, after which elections are automatically called. Netanyahu and the Likud still pushing for a 1-year budget, while Gantz and the Blue and White Party are still vying for a 2-year plan as stipulated in their unity agreement. The Haredi factions within the government seemingly the only ones pushing for compromise. The ultra-Orthodox Shas and United Torah Judaism parties practically begging Gantz and Netanyahu to cooperate and avoid the so-called madness of elections.